Hey friends, Brian King here. Let me ask you a question. When you shared your career plans or your aspirations as a child or a teenager or even a young adult with your folks, how'd they feel about it? Were they thrilled? Were they disappointed? Were they discouraging? What was the story? I know for some of you, it may be that they said, "Oh, that's such a wonderful choice. You're so gifted in that area. I'm so proud of you," and so on and so forth. That was not the case for me. My dad grew up working with his hands. He was raised by a dad who is into AC repair and so on, and he impressed upon his sons the importance of having a trade. You need to be good with your hands. You need to be able to fix stuff. And my dad was militant when it came to this belief. So when he heard that I wanted to go into social work, he wasn't only disapproving, he was pissed because he worked hard, he sweat, he worked in dirty conditions in order to make money, to put food on the table. And he thought that I was absolutely wasting my time by going into the social work field. He kept saying, "I'm not spending my money on that. Who the heck is going to pay for that? You got to be good with your hands." And he just couldn't let go of that. So if I were to hold on to his belief, his story for me, of what would be a good life for me, of what would be best for me, I would be miserable. First of all, I'm clumsy. I stink with my hands. I'm not interested in learning how to fix things. I don't care about fixing cars. I'm not interested in, electrical wiring and stuff. The stuff that he kind of worked with. He installed burglar alarms, fire alarms, and it was his own business. And he worked 15, 20-hour days to support us. And that was his mindset. Now let's fast forward to today. I, like many of you, were raised without this digital world we now live in. I didn't have the internet till I was well into college. I didn't get my first laptop till around the same time. The high-end edge of tech when I was a kid was Atari, okay? So now I'm raising kids that have only known digital. They relate to the world differently. They relate to each other differently. So what if I took it upon myself to envision a life for them that was based on what I was taught, how I was raised, how I view the world, and what is best for people. So I could be sending a message to my boys that this is how the world works. This is how it's supposed to be. When you were born, this is what I imagined would happen for you, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of I statements in that story for my children. And I see parents doing this a lot today as well. They say, "Well, I imagined more for you. What I thought that would be good for you because of where your talents are would be this." And we concoct this entire story about how our child is supposed to live their lives. And we seldom let our child in on it. And we didn't ask for their consent to plan their life for them, did we? Our kids are living in a different era. They see their relationship to the world, to each other. They even see themselves differently because the world is different than what we grew up with. And it's important to get a sense of what their story is. I've heard a lot of parents that say, very altruistically, "Well, I don't mind if my child ends up being a garbage man or a janitor or a waitress or whatever, as long as they're happy." You say that when you're around company, because sometimes you want to sound pretty enlightened, and sometimes you are more times than others. But you have to be honest with yourself. Do you really believe that? Do you believe that as long as your child is making their way in the world, they can support themselves, they're happy, they're with somebody that loves them, whatever it is, but that it's up to them? It's their choice. When it comes to kiddos with special needs, ADHD and so forth, it's much easier and more tempting to impose a story upon them of how they're supposed to live their life. Because from early on, we get used to being their two-legged forearm safety net. We're always trying to capture them and hold them and protect them. And we go to the IEP meetings, not them. So we're creating the plan. Us and other adults, without our child's consent, determine what their entire life is going to look like, what their goals are going to be, how things are going to be after high school, and then we wonder why, when our kids graduate high school, they have no idea what to do with their lives. Because we never helped them create their own story, because we were too busy impressing our own upon them. So one thing I really want to encourage you to do is take a step back and ask yourself, whose story is my child living according to? Are their needs, desires, their goals even a consideration here? Or is it just me and the rest of the adults in their world who grew up in a different time, a different era, who saw the world in a very different way, are now making all the decisions for this child? So that's just my 2 cents that I want to throw out to you. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you. Make some comments below, because it is a very critical conversation to have. I see too many young adults that are miserable, feel lost, are depressed because they have no idea what to do with their lives, because they were never encouraged to reflect upon it and never helped to do it either. So think about that. Let me know what you think. Feel free to pass this on to anybody else that you think can benefit from it. And that's my 2 cents. I hope it's helpful. Take care. We'll talk again soon.